Pledge of allegiance.
Attention, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Everyone, please make yourself aware of the ethics, awareness, and conflict of interest reminder. Hearing no conflicts of interest. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add to item 11B. Study was pointed out in our minutes.
Second. All in favor, vote aye. We will add that. Please make note on your agendas this evening, item 11G for the Toe River Health District pay study. Do you have any other changes to the agenda this evening? Do we have any public comments? I think I've seen one. Joe Miller. Got the podium there, sir. Got 3 minutes.
Well, I just wanted to come tonight, and I know that we're going to vote on the Toe River Health District part of the agenda tonight. And as a member of the Toe River Health District, appointed by y'all, and right now, I thank you for that. We'll see you later, but
Appreciate your work.
But I just wanted to come and say, as a board member, and as we are trying to make this as best as we can for the citizens of Mitchell County, we feel like that we need to bring our pay scale up to just comparable. We're not looking for better, we're just looking for equal. And so we can retain and recruit, good employees. And if you've owned a business, you know that the hardest part is a cycle of employees coming through your facility. So we just want to be able to provide them equal pay to what the other counties around us are doing and the other health boards. And the best we can tell from the health study that these salaries have been set for 10 to 20 years. And that's, no one wants to be making what they would 10, 20 years ago. So I hope y'all will take it in consideration and give us what we need to try to provide the citizens of this county the best they deserve and we should be offering. So, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thanks for coming over, Joe. Appreciate it. That was the only comment we had for this evening. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from February 7th. I have a motion. We approve those minutes.
Salary pay scale in request of the addition.
And Mr. Pittman, if you'll check your email from yesterday, that information was sent to you as well as all of us from Mr. Huss. He also has that report on his manager's report that shows the amount of money that pay increase will be. If you look at this page here, which is also on your iPad, it breaks down every employee, what they were making, salary, and what the benefit package is for each employee. And then it will break it down at the bottom for the shared costs for 3 counties. But Mr. Heiss broke it down rather well. It's $103,939 for the pay increase. The benefit package fringes is $19,021. Total amount for pay increase is $122,940 to be our share.
dispute that.
You just want more
Yeah,
information.
yeah, no problem. We will amend those minutes to add that, that note there, Commissioner Pittman.
I just don't want to be taken as I'm getting support a salary increase. I just don't block the vote on a figure that's not.
Absolutely. With the addition of that to the minutes, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda for the evening, we have Ms. Risa Larson. Welcome, Risa. Hello.
Important to speak in the microphone. Are y'all broadcasting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hopefully they can hear me. Hi, it's certainly good to see you all tonight. I sent Taylor some materials and I hope that they have them. And so I'm going to talk to you about the request, the Word document, and I apologize. I wrote that it's February 22nd, 2020, and that just shows how many twos are in today's date. So I'd like to correct that. As I said in the first paragraph, in 2020, when the census was being done, Dogwood Health Trust gave out grants to help increase the turnout for the census, and Search participated in that. And then we actually brought into the county $14,000 that y'all had sort of held for, we kind of hoped healthcare related things that might be going on. And right at the end of 2020, we used $1,000 of that because, is that the right date? Because we wanted to thank the nurses that had worked so hard in 2020 on the whole COVID thing. So we've spent together, the Search in collaboration with the county, $1,000 of that $13,000. So now the county health assessments have just been released. I don't know if y'all get the emails. I got it from Jessica Farley myself. For all three counties. That is done in collaboration with the health department and also with an organization called the Western North Carolina Health Network. And that's such a mouthful. I'm going to say health network the rest of the time I'm up here talking. That's the sheet that I also asked Taylor to print out for y'all. This is just a little background on who they are, what they do, and the fact that they've been around for 20 years and are still doing a lot of quantitative analysis of the state of healthcare in Western North Carolina. And so tonight, Search is coming here to say that $13,000 left over from the $14,000 that came in during the census year, we would love to have the county use that money through us to support a deeper analysis of access to healthcare for Mitchell County residents. Our intention is to take a look at Yancey, Mitchell, Avery, and Buncombe, not Buncombe, McDowell, because I think we are all concerned about the state of our hospital in the presence of so much construction going on down in McDowell. And so we are very interested in working with the network, the health network, to create a tailored data set that has to do with primary and secondary kinds of data that they already are collecting. They will expand that based on what we think would be helpful in understanding what is going on in healthcare in our counties. We'll be having conversations with them frequently. We'll meet with them once a month as they start working on this. They will also analyze a bunch of what we called listening session conversations that were gathered in 2019 and actually, they were all gathered right before the pandemic hit. So it must have been 2018 and 2019. So we've had those conversations documented and sort of sitting in files in our Google Drive area for a while. But nobody's really analyzed them and figured out what should we do with this information. So as you see in this tailored tier 3 data set, the middle big section of bullets in this document that I had Taylor print for y'all, analysis of that is part of it. And then we would co-design with the health network some sort of report that we would then, as they made clear later, we Search would take into the community and talk about the status of access to healthcare in our community. So their expectation is that study would take 6 to 8 months. And, we are in right now this week in negotiations with them about what the cost will be, what the scope will be. So obviously it hasn't started, but that's why we're here tonight, is to say, Would y'all allow us to spend that $13,000 on your behalf? So do y'all have any questions? I hope what I have said is clear. I guess there's one more dimension I will add. Susan and I talked this morning about what to tell y'all. Within Search, we have various committees, and one of our committees its name to date has been the Champion and Monitor Committee. And mostly by that, we mean champion and monitor our hospital, right? To make sure our hospital remains here. That's why we still meet monthly if we can, depending on COVID, with Tanya Hale. So the Champion and Monitor Committee is comprised of a lot of folks whose names you might recognize. Alex Green, the local dentist, retired Dr. Woodard, what is it? George, what? Arch Woodard, Lord knows. George Walter, a retired man who used to work for the CDC and then worked for the U.S. Public Health Service. Lee Rule, a nurse practitioner here who has had to step away from our committee some in the last few months because of the COVID surges at the hospital, and then retired Dr. Tom Kalyazinski. And we're partly talking about who those guys are because they got some cred. You know, I've told you all before, I don't know anything about healthcare personally, other than what my own experiences have been. I don't know much about nonprofits, but that's why this committee is comprised of those folks. And for months, we've talked about wanting to have quantitative data about the state of our hospital. How many surgeries are they doing by month and all? And I think we told y'all when we saw you in the fall, they won't answer those questions. And so then that group started looking at, well, what's just publicly available? What does HCA have to report to the CDC or to North Carolina or whatever? And what we pretty quickly realized is we're a bunch of smart people. Many of us are retired, but we need professional help. And so it's in that spirit that we're coming back to y'all and saying, wow, this might be a way to use that money in collaboration with a group of people that have existed for 20 years. They were actually put together as a collaboration of hospitals way back in the day, but with the sale of the major system to a for-profit, their board, Western North Carolina Health Network's board, is not highly comprised of CEOs of hospitals anymore. It's shifting its focus because things have shifted about healthcare and how our hospitals are run. So that was another dimension. Like I say, a bunch of us volunteers in this nonprofit, we probably just don't have the capacity or the knowledge to tap the way the health network would. And the other thing is that our community engagement project group, that's another committee within Search. They're the ones that did the listening sessions a couple of years ago. They rolled up their sleeves this fall and they got heavily involved in the community health assessment, again, that has just been published. And I don't know if any of y'all have looked at it. I downloaded it from the email I got, opened it up, and holy Moses, it's 240 pages. Now, a lot of it is background data. A lot of it is what the survey said and all of that, but it's a more robust document than I personally feel it has been in a while. They do those every 3 years. And so we're standing here tonight hoping to show y'all we are trying to really embed ourselves in the community, embed ourselves with other organizations that care about healthcare. And that's why we've come tonight to ask you all about this request. So with all of that background, do y'all have any questions for me?
What do you hope to do with the data that you're going to collect from the survey? What's your aim?
Our intention is to take it into the community and talk about what we've learned. There's a lot of data that just came out in the community health assessments, but we want this to be even more focused, perhaps, like I said, to the extent that it's feasible, do a little comparison about what's going on in our hospital versus what's going on down at McDowell. So our intention is to bring it back and figure out if there's things that we need to address, with you all, with the health department, with the hospital, with MCHP. A large part of this painful second year of COVID that Search has wanted to do is get more in collaboration with other organizations. And to some extent, we've been able to do that, but COVID has held us up to some extent, but hopefully this year we're going to be able to get back more out into the community.
Lisa, we
Yes, sir.
appreciate everything you guys are doing. I know that you're working very hard and diligent trying to make sense of all the stuff that's out there. We got a snake in the kitchen, and in my opinion, and you've got a fly swat trying to to chase it. You need a rake and.
Did you write
So-
that down, Susan? I
so
think that's a great analogy.
That's, and I'd make the motion to allow you guys to take that money.
Before we make the motion,
Sure.
would you be opposed to somebody from like, that's got, like dealing with day-to-day with the hospital from like EMS or whatever, sitting in on that committee? Would you be opposed to that?
Guess what? Susan, would you like to say something?
Right?
He was just elected to our board a week ago. So he,
That's good.
well, and in fact, just recently, we heard something from Sheila Blaylock about transports that are going to different places and that. So collaboration, absolutely. And if you've got somebody else you want to suggest be involved in this, yes, Jeff.
That's one question that I wish that y'all would ask for research done on. We've dealt with these transports, ever since I've been on this board. And I think we used to have a transporter station up there that would do transports. Now it's a regional transport, and that regional transport, if it's available, it can transport. But what that does, that puts one of our EMS trucks out of the county, sometimes at critical times. And, the hospital is in Mitchell County, and I'm very thankful for that.
Agreed.
But if we inherit a patient from Yancey or Avery, or possibly the McDowell from the Little Switzerland side, and they come in and they need to be transported, and they can't be flown, and they can't, the transporter is not available to pick them up. One of our trucks is leaving this county, and that's a minimum if you go to Asheville of a 4-hour trip. That one of our trucks is out of the county. And if it happens after 7 o'clock at night, that only leaves us one truck to cover the entire county. So it would be very interesting to see what y'all could find out if you can dig that far down in the stuff and find that information. And you may never be able to find that information.
Well, is it appropriate to assume that Mitchell County and Yancey County can tell us about theirs, right? I mean, that would be public information, not that we took Harley to the hospital on this day, but X people were transported. I mean,
They can give you,
so-
you could go back and ask Brian, and we're the ones, Mitchell Medics is the one that primarily does all the transports to wherever out of that hospital. And with COVID and the situation of COVID, a lot of your beds that were local are no longer available, which made their transport time further. It could have been Winston. I think we had one case where we had to transport to Virginia.
You're talking about inter-facility transports?
Yes. So, Bryant, who's coming on your board, could give you all the data per day, per month. He could track it down to what time of day and how long that truck was out of the county.
yeah, I mean, I love that whole concept of incorporating that kind of data.
Information we can't get from the hospital is how many transports they are making.
And I've asked them specifically in our EMS peer review, the percentage of time that the regional transport truck is there. And I've been told they would provide that information, but as of yet, I don't have my hands on it. So.
And if I could point out on this conversation, of which I've been a part of now for 6 years, and I will defer to manager / attorney Heiss on this because he was very instrumental in researching this for us about 4 years ago. I am grateful that Mitchell Medics does not turn away transports for our citizens, because I would never want a Mitchell County citizen laying in the ER needing to be taken to Asheville and they have to lay there for 6+ hours or more. However, I would point out to y'all as you enter these discussions, and this is where I'll defer to Attorney Heiss, there is a federal statute, correct me if I'm wrong, Lloyd, that you discovered that says that it is the hospital's responsibility, once the patient lands at the hospital, to provide transportation outside of that hospital to another facility.
If they can't get the services they need where they landed.
Correct. Is that correct, Lord?
That's correct.
Okay,
And
thank
if I-
you.
If I may add to Mr. Grindstaff's point, the issue we have, it's not transport, it's that, Mitchell County taxpayers subsidizing that EMS service to the tune of $1.5 million. We are not subsidizing those inter-facility transports. So, every time we do that, that's
Yeah.
just.
And it's our responsibility, to Commissioner Pittman's point, that we provide 911 service. And that's what we're in the business to do, if you will.
Right.
So we want to keep our trucks here for our people instead of them being gone all the time on transports. That's our argument. It's not that we don't want to do the transports. We have a responsibility to the people to keep our trucks here as much as possible.
Well, so I personally love the sound of, if there's a federal statute, perhaps they are required to provide stats to somebody, maybe not to the county, maybe not to the state, but so, it's in that hope that these other folks who do this for a living look at statistics and all that are related to healthcare. Perhaps they can give us the kind of help that we don't, the skills and experience that we don't have. So.
To go back to the original motion, I don't want to get the name for myself of the tabler commissioner, but, we are, and I do appreciate you guys advocating for the healthcare needs of our community. But I believe we're doing a capital improvement plan next week. And I would like to personally hold off to see if there's any kind of capital needs related to healthcare that we need to address as a county. I know we've talked about AEDs and all the county buildings. And
So before you make the table in motion, if I may, can I ask a question about we're talking about 13,000 and what? Right.
We gave them $1,000 to run the ad for. That's 13,000, and we're holding that money carried over to this year's budget. Because it had not been or allocated. We're holding the 13,000.
Okay. And can you bring us up to speed on why we received the 14,000? It was in regards to the census that
They raised the money.
that's what I'm trying to get at.
They got a grant from Dogwood
It was
Trust.
because of their work we received the money, correct?
That's
They
right.
got a grant
Okay.
from Dogwood Trust.
Well, as you said, every time we went up in the self-response rate, monies were accrued. Again, boy, the last 2 years are just a blur, aren't they? But my recollection is it was probably because we weren't a fully standing nonprofit yet that the money, we said, let's, yeah, y'all kind of became our fiscal agent to a certain extent. Not that we aren't all together in caring about the state of healthcare here, so.
We
I
appreciate
I
that.
would support giving you the money.
Commissioner Pittman is always on top of thinking ahead. I'm always one to pull the trigger too quick. So I think we'll put this to table. We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting for a motion. Probably be good just to allow you to see that stuff, front, but I think, we'll look through the capital needs because there may be something out there, but we will make sure you guys are well aware of anything that comes about with that.
is it pressing? Is this pressing business or can it wait?
I would love for the decision to have been made tonight, but the truth is the next meeting is not far off. So
We meet a lot, so you
Yeah.
ain't got to worry.
it's already the end of February. So.
You don't have to wait long.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we will come back and learn what y'all have decided.
Well,
So
thank
thank
you.
you for your time. I'm sorry.
I said, since it's a first meeting, we'll put you early on the agenda.
Thank you, Risa. And thank you guys for all your
Thank you
work.
all.
Next item for discussion this evening is our needs-based public school capital fund grant application. I think we've got Superintendent Mr. Calhoun here. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I think you all have a copy of the needs-based grant. It's pretty simple, it's a little bit more detailed than when we applied for the 15 million, but it's very straightforward. Again, we're just hoping to receive the 40 million. Again, we can't do anything without the 40 million. So, if there's any questions about the grant that you had.
You guys got any questions for Mr. Calhoun?
I'm sorry.
Good.
So
We're doing
I'm
some
sorry
ciphering.
for the miss. You had sent us another email. I think explaining the $5.2 million change of local money.
Yeah,
But
that's
they're going up to about
the
45.
price that we put on there is basically just a high estimate. You never know what the price is until you send the bids out. That's when you get the exact amount. So we asked the architect and the CMAR to give us a high estimate. If you also notice in there, they built in a 15.5% contingency in there, which is very high. But with the economy and inflation, you don't know what's going to happen. So we did ask them to make it high, rather for them to shoot too high as to be too low. So that's where we're at. Even if it came in at this high amount, with our sales tax money that we have saved, with our lottery money that we have saved, with the sales tax money that's going to come in between 2023 and 24, we could make that without having to borrow any money at all.
And the QZAB payment was, this
It'll
is,
be paid
it'll
off
pay
in
off this
August.
year, right?
That's great. That's 142,000, I believe.
Yep.
What do we have right now of their sales tax money? Is the money? Estimates from the-
Sales
Close to
tax
a
money,
million.
1.4 million. I'll tell you exact. $1,417,110.15.
And how much lottery money?
About $1,084,585. We're scheduled to get 300,000 this year. We get another 500,000 following year, another 500,000 following year. We should be able, since we didn't spend the 15 million, recoup the 3 years that they held back, which would be about another $300,000. And then we'll get whatever the formula is per year. That varies about, just depending on how many lottery tickets are sold. We've got anywhere from 120,000 to 220,000. But it just varies.
Does it
per
vary on how
year.
many sold in Mitchell County, or is it
No,
across
it's
the?
statewide.
Statewide, okay.
It's not Mitchell County.
Sorry, just
It's
curious.
statewide.
So worst case scenario, if it took $5.2 million, we're halfway there already.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm looking right now, I'm looking at just, and always go on the conservative end. Because I always think worst case scenario. So then by the time 23, 24 came around, barring any major catastrophe in Mitchell County schools, the roof blowing off or something like that, we would have 5.9 million saved at that time. I think that would be nice to build a $47 million school and not cost the taxpayers one dime.
Good boy.
So the architect did help you guys estimate.
Yeah, but that
Some
estimate
high
came from the CMAR and architect on the high
Okay.
end. Yeah, I mean, and again, you know, they can guess, but you know, with what's going on with Russia, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, that's a guesstimate. It's a high guesstimate, but you don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, their feeling is if things have went along as is, then interest rates would go up in December, therefore driving down building costs, and it would be lower. But who knows, again, with what's going on in our world today with inflation and everything else.
Chad, before long, we should know that.
Well, yes, well, first and foremost, we gotta get the $40 million. You can't do anything without the $40 million.
But I mean, what you're, sometime this
Yeah,
summer,
we
at the
should know
latest,
May.
we're gonna know that figure.
Oh, we
Should
will know in April,
Thank you.
40 million,
I
we
know
should
that.
know
I'm talking about the cost of building.
probably May.
As soon as we get it out, yeah, so we will know.
So we can pencil in that 4.5 in detail.
Yes, sir.
As the locked in price.
Yes, sir.
Does this current estimate, does this have an auxiliary gym in it, or is this?
No,
That's not, I've checked
that's
that.
just,
Them Stern,
the school. 15,000 square foot school with a gym and then, another room for rec.
Yeah, and we'll point out that,
Wrestling.
is, high school regulation.
Yeah, the gym is high school regulated. It's a bigger gym than either Bowman or Harris.
So in a pinch, y'all could use it for a high school.
Well, this is a gym the state recommends. for which
Yeah,
school.
the rooms, everything has to be state approved. I mean, there's nothing in that building that cannot go by the state guidelines. There's a minimum square footage, there's details. They have to approve. The DPI has to approve everything in the plan. The number of bathrooms, how wide the halls are, I mean, everything has to be approved by DPI. So that's what, when we met with Tommy Winchester, he said he felt good about inspecting this building because everything has to be approved with the state first anyhow. It's more of a checklist for him.
I was looking at your furniture. That would,
And that's a high estimate,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, it was hard for me to comprehend that number, and I'm thinking, wow.
And that's not just a desk, Jeff.
I
That-
started,
that-
what kind
that
of
would
desk
be-
are these?
Well, that would be shelving, that would be teachers, that would be storage, that's a cafeteria, that's everything. That's not just,
That's turnkey.
that's not just a student, that's everything in that building,
That's still with
yeah.
me.
And you know, the cost of everything has went up drastically in the last year and a half.
Well, one thing I'll say, for all of us, number one, we desperately need this school. I think we realize that because of dropping population at Agent School. I was hoping my younger daughter would be able to go there, but that doesn't look like that would probably happen. Best case scenario, maybe their 8th grade year halfway through, but I've got grandkids and other people have children and are raising grandkids. But what I wanted to point out, 3 years ago, we had a match. So you got 15, we were gonna have to provide 5. Basically, with what you're requesting on the high end, we're providing the same amount. But, and if I'm hearing you correctly, with all the money that's coming, lottery, sales tax, et cetera, and we don't have to look deep money. 23, 24.
Yeah, there's no local money. This is state lottery money and the quarter-cent sales tax that goes to schools anyhow. It's not money out of the county's pocket.
But, you know, that money will not be used till the last drop.
No, that's
The
the
way
last
it
drop,
appears
yeah.
on here.
And that's the way Kim set it up.
So
it
if we
was
come
last.
in under, that number can definitely drop.
Yes,
And I'm hearing you say, if everything goes according to plan, with y'all's projected estimates, you're looking at 5.9. To have in reserve by that point in time, unless you have a major issue.
that's right.
With that too, we've heard, you know, when we were first looking at that 15.5 grand, we weren't able to build. We're still pushing that in, but I think there was some, you know, just from a community standpoint, questions of why we're moving forward, why we're moving forward. But grateful for where we're at, to have the opportunity to like $40 million grant. It's going to position us in a lot better position for the county for that.
Jeff mentioned very clearly, you know, why we're doing this. If you think back, I'm a product of Mitchell County Schools. I graduated from Mitchell High School in 1985. In 1985, there were nearly 3,000 students in Mitchell County Schools. We will drop into the 1600s next year. So that's what, you know, that's a big picture. 85, there's nearly 3,000 students. Next year, we drop in the 1600s. We will go, and that's if everything stays in Mitchell County. Mining companies, hospital, as we said earlier, everything, all our business stay here where parents can work, have jobs and work. We're going to the 1400s. That's where we're headed. We're headed to the 1400s. We will level off when we get to 1400s without any change, unless we get something to come in here and bring more families in here and we can increase. That's where we're headed. That's why we're struggling. not just the old buildings. Jeff sat on the school board when the DPI came in and studied our buildings. And those 3 buildings that we're talking about are beyond what they recommended. They already should have been closed.
And that was
They're on
15 years
borrowed,
ago.
they're on borrowed time now. That was 2011, they did that study. And Bowman and Harris was given 10 years max at that time. No, actually, it was Harris and Deaton were given 10 years max. Bowman was given 5 years max at that time. So those buildings are on borrowed time already. So with the enrollment drop, with the building condition, I mean, this school is needed. Like I said, for us not to put this on a taxpayer burden, that we can get $40 million thanks to Senator Haas. And the legislators that did that, he was the main one that pushed this bill, thanks to him. That we have an opportunity to get $40 million is huge. And we've been very fiscal responsible, thanks to this lady sitting right here, that we've been able to save this money. We've been able to save about $2.5 million. To my knowledge, in the past, Michigan schools never saved any money. It was always 0, 0, 0. And this negotiator right here that we have and watches every penny that we spend, we've been able to save $2.5 million and plan on saving another $2.5 to $3 million. So we have been very fiscal responsible in the last 6 years. We watch every dollar because we know that it is taxpayer money. We respect our taxpayers and respect our citizens because we don't want to put this as a taxpayer burden. But we worked very hard with the senator to get this bill to make this thing happen. Like I said, if we don't get the 40 million, nothing happens. We can't make it happen. So that's our goal, and we appreciate Senator House making that available to us, and we're going to push it so we know in April. And hopefully we get that. I got a phone call last time. Hopefully I get that phone call from the state superintendent in April saying you got $40 million sitting there. Because it's very much needed for our kids in Michigan schools.
And I think we talked, but remind me, I know their grant would be awarded in April, and if we were able to move forward in May, let's say, getting bids, getting back, if that grant's awarded in April, what was the timing that we think the new school could be open? August of 24. Gotcha.
What's the timing of groundbreaking, you think?
That's exciting.
So your turf will be able to go in.
We'll be asking that at the next meeting, permission to get some dirt from over there to move football field.
Okay.
And it actually
That was
saves.
my, I guess my
Yeah.
question, you're gonna need that dirt because it's in close proximity.
Yes.
But if groundbreaking doesn't take place till August, then you see what I'm thinking with that, Kim?
To say that it's school, but
Won't have to be carrying any dirt back.
And it actually saves us money on this price because the removing of that dirt is in this price.
Yep.
And we got the grant for $1,100,000 this year for the turf. So it's paying for the removal of the dirt. So that, whatever the cost of removal of the dirt comes off of this total.
So we need your dirt from the school
Yeah, well,
construction.
there's gonna be plenty of dirt.
Please do not get rid of your dirt.
Yeah, it will fill this up and then some.
Yeah. Really?
Well, good.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Hey, Chad, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're fine.
know your first.
Chad, since we are doing our capital budget meeting and stuff, could you possibly get Lloyd and Mavis a copy of the 5-year facility needs report so that we can just be thinking ahead for the future?
Yeah, we can see it.
If I can piggyback on that, I was gonna ask what the plan is from the school for Harris and Bowman. Is there a plan on what's gonna happen to those buildings?
There will be, once we get the $40 million grant, everyone will start working on it. Hopefully you all will, I would hope you all would want to be involved in that.
I would say from my board, I think it's say those buildings utilize to the maximum. That's what I have to the whole. There's great potential. They may not be they may be challenging for them to feed these school buildings, but they're strictly.
So from us tonight, we need a motion to
Just
move forward.
approve, move forward with this grant, just apply for the grant, basically.
Do I have a motion that we apply for the grant?
So move.
Second. All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Chad. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys pulling all that together. Next on the agenda tonight, we got Mr. Blair Hunt. Hey. Good evening. Good to see you. For tax foreclosures.
Okay. I guess like everything else with the pandemic, life has kind of been upset, including county doing foreclosures. First, we had to contend with the courts being closed, then both the federal and state government saw fit to throw some other roadblocks up for us, and I think that those have since been removed and we can proceed. Of course, with the surges in COVID and just here in the recent past, I don't know how many people we can get to huddle up and we'll bid on property on the courthouse steps. That's another issue to kind of think about. I have, for our policy, pulled the 25 properties that would be eligible to be turned over to.
What's the total on those? Do you have that in front of you?
I didn't total them up.
How many years delinquent on those properties?
They vary anywhere from 3 to 10.
So three is, they've been delinquent at least 3 years.
The number one is over $24,000.
Have we tried to negotiate with these individuals or?
And that's, you know, given that we're trying to wrap up a reappraisal, I didn't have a chance to talk with the collector about it. We just sent out second notices. So it's been kind of wild in my world.
If we voted to proceed and they wanted to come in and set up a payment plan to catch up on their taxes, could they do that?
So they need to set it up and actually come make the
Payments,
payments,
yeah.
because
Right.
when I had spoke to JC, they set it up and then never can pay.
And several years ago, you know, we recognized this as a problem. So the county went and set a policy. We try to do them in a 12-month period. In the extreme case, 24 months. And if they miss a payment, then it's all bets are off. I do have a demand letter that Lloyd was good enough to compose for us here a few years ago when we came up with the scoring systems for the foreclosures. That if you all want, we can send those ahead of turning them over to the attorney and give them 30 days to make a move. And keep in mind, you know, the foreclosures are the nuclear option. I mean, I think to give our neighbors or people that are in this situation a fair shake, the other enforcement remedies are probably a little bit kinder than putting some of the other home.
Blair, I would be curious to know, I'm sure y'all do, but you have protocol as to how you go about this, right? They get another one, whether they get payment option.
Well, this time of year, we send out second notices. That second notice has got to look back for every year that you're eligible for enforced collection. So it goes back 10 years. And this occurs every year. So it's not like it's unknown.
Mavis had sent all the board members, and I can't find mine, it's
I'm
gone,
looking forward to.
of back taxes. And there were pages and pages and pages as you scroll down, and some of them were 6, 7, and 8 years. And I spoke about this at the last commissioners meeting, that it sort of chaps me pretty hard. Because all of us are making an effort to pay our taxes. It's a burden I would say on all of us to pay our taxes. And I understand that there are some people that it's a huge financial burden to pay their taxes. So this is not an across the board statement for everybody that was on that list. But personally, I do know some of those people on that list. And they're more apt to pay their taxes than I. They're more apt to pay their taxes than Granny Mae sitting over here who comes in and gives you $20 a month. And that's a struggle for her. So, in my opinion, they're not paying the taxes because they want to beat the dang system. And some of them have been successful in beating the system, it appears. I would like to see us go after, and I think we legally can do this. You know, their tax returns, their paychecks, we can garnish some wages out of their paychecks. And the last thing I want to see anybody do is lose their property and home. But I think it's apparent, and want everybody to know that the tax office is willing to work with folks. We're not the bad guys up here that's wanting to take your property. We'll garnish your wages or do anything like that. But what's fair for one is fair for everybody. And I think that amount of money was about $1.4 million. And I think Mitchell County could use in excess of $1.4 million right now. So I know there are exceptions, but, and I know it's a lot of work, Blair, but I would personally like for your office, and you probably know the people better than we do, to do whatever you need to do. And if they're unwilling to come in and sit down, then start garnishing their wages or their income tax. And if there's nothing there to garnish, then send them a notice that we're gonna foreclose on that property.
Well, and that being said, you know, you've hit on a few things that are available to the collector to utilize to collect. Bank account attachments are another thing. Rent attachments. If you've got rental property and you're not paying the taxes on it, oh, guys left. If we can get some cooperation with them, they can be served, and that rent can be diverted to the county for payment of their taxes.
Well, Jeff, to your point, we all use those services. And when I was in college and working part-time at a sawmill and raising a family, I still paid my property taxes.
And it's hard. I mean, I know that it's hard for a lot of elderly. My mother fell in that class because she had some health issues, and when she went in a donut hole, she was out $1,400 a month from September on that she had to pay her own mess. But she always made sure her city taxes were paid and her county taxes were paid. And then she would have to juggle what she might have to do with that. She always worried about her fuel. So I just start having her fuel oil filled up, and she would get mad at me, and I said, I didn't do that. That might have been probably somebody from the church.
And to be honest, a lot of our retarees are some of the first ones that we see when a bill comes.
I guarantee it is.
They'll beat the doors in before the due date. I mean, you know, we often see them in July and August as the first ones to come.
You know, I don't want to call them. I hate to use this word, and here again, this doesn't apply to everybody. But it's like we got some deadbeats that just want to beat the citizens, but they want the service they get from the county, but everybody else is footing their part of the services.
So are you wanting to pursue more than those 25 on the list? Is that what
I'd like to pursue that 20-page document, whatever it was on my iPad.
There is a limit, what you're gonna have, you're gonna have to hire 2 or 3.
Okay.
To do the 25 or the whole list?
Your work thing is that to the 25.
But what if we don't go? What if we don't go to the process of foreclosure, but we go to the process of garnishing wages?
We do that.
Attaching income
They
tax
do that
return.
all the time.
Okay,
we-
can
we do
can we
that.
start doing that on those 20 pages of, cause
Have you done that on any of this list, Glenn?
I don't know. I'm not the tax collector. So, I mean, that's what I was getting at earlier. The 25 that I pulled is part of our policy. You know, that the policy states that the tax collector is to
Right.
exhaust all these options prior to them being turned over to the attorney. And I haven't had the opportunity to talk with her about the 25.
I mean, I'm not saying that we foreclose on somebody's property. Let's contact them and let, hey, your taxes are 7 years old. And here's the process, and here's the first step, third step, and fourth step that will take place before we get to this point with foreclosure. Would you like to come in and set an appointment up with us? And let's figure out how we can start making payments on these taxes.
That policy's in place.
I would.
I'd like to see, I want to move on.
Well-
That's just one commission.
My question is, do we want to execute letters to these folks prior to,
Oh, I
So
would
they're being
definitely
turned over to
vote
the-
the letter that said you've got 30 days before
Right.
proceedings take place.
Right. Yeah.
And I would like to hear personally from the tax collector to see if we have started the process of the first step. In other words, have they got the first letter saying? Or have they had withholdings of any kind, garnishments of any kind? What have we,
Well,
what
I-
actions have been taken?
I know a couple of weeks ago, I instructed the collector to go ahead and move on getting employee information from the largest regional employers, which that occurs every year. And where she's at in that process, I'm not sure.
I make a motion that we go ahead and move on those 25, that list of those 25 delinquent taxes and pursue collecting those taxes as the tax collector sees fit.
Is that with foreclosure
Or
or what?
I would say exhaust the resources.
When you need some motion on the foreclosure.
Well, my question is do we want to send the demand letter? And give them 30 days to react, and if they don't react, then we get to.
I will retract my motion and I move that we send a demand letter to those 25 individuals.
And
Well,
keep
let
in
me get
mind,
clear before we move. All right, so if we do a demand letter, are you gonna be coming back to this board saying now can we foreclose?
no, we'll know.
You're not gonna come back the second time?
No. I just want some clarity about the plan.
On just 25.
These are the top 25 by score.
And
Most
commission,
egregious.
Is that based on dollar amount owed?
It is based on 3 criteria. There's 10 points awarded for each year that they're delinquent. There's 10 points awarded for each $100 in taxes and interest owed. And there are 10 points awarded for each $1,000 of assessed value of real estate. And that composite score is what we've based it on. So this is pretty much making the grade rise to the top.
So once we execute this, we can follow, exhaust the whole thing. Let's say we do end up foreclosing on some of these properties. What's the plan after for the next, I mean, because like you said, I know you gotta have a team of lawyers to help you get
You'll
through.
always have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess how do we keep rolling down that list and basically never slow down, right?
It's an endless list.
Yeah, I mean, that 15,
Yeah.
it's 15 pages. I saw the list.
and you know, and I'm gonna go back and reiterate, if it needs to be added to your motion, or if it needs to be a separate motion, that we send letters to everybody on this list concerning their lack of payment and back due of taxes.
Well, they have just gotten that notice.
So it goes back,
That
anybody's on
notice-
this list, it goes out.
Right. That
Okay.
notice went out last Friday.
Okay, my question to you then, since we've taken care of that, how do we proceed from there? Let's say you sent Joe over here a letter He reads it. Knows the track. I ain't worried about it. I'll worry about it next year. I guess what I want to see happen, Blair, is the process speed up. And we get serious about this and they know, hey, you're either going to come in and set up an appointment, or we're going to garnish your wages, or we're going to attach to your bank, or we're going after your income tax. And the last thing we want to do is foreclose on your property, but if you don't have enough interest to call this office and set up an appointment, you're trying to beat the system. My opinion.
So I have a question.
Okay.
In that whole list of properties, are there any people, and you may or may not know this, are there any of those properties that are owned by these individuals that were like, say, a mother and father that had passed and then it went on and the
There's quite a
child
few of
doesn't live here anymore? So you said there's several?
And I will, as a continued response to that, those are probably some of your most problematic. when it comes to foreclosure.
We can't move on those anyway.
But Lloyd and I chased a family all over the southeastern United States for about 2 years before we got.
19 of them.
You have to determine who all the heirs are.
Yeah,
Is that what
you have to do a thorough title examination as your first step in foreclosure.
What kind of liability are we exposed to?
No, if you sell somebody's property and they've not been properly notified, you get back to them. Tax free. They pay taxes. It's not. And some of them, they may owe $3,000, and their property may not be worth $10,000.
But
Because it's been, not that it wasn't when the taxes were assessed against it, but it is dilapidated because it's been empty for 3 or 4 years and that valuation hadn't changed. And the taxes have continued to accrue and you look, well, actually, this property is worth $3,000. We're going to have $8,000 in attorney's fees.
and I
You
had
sort of axe those. Now, they may be in the top 25, but when they were, I ignored them.
I had a citizen actually bring up this to me,
And
and I,
then one of them that had the 19 people, y'all told me to do it when I was 10, you were going to lose money on it.
and I brought that point up, Lloyd, but the citizen had a good response. He said, but well, then the county can take possession of this property and do something about this eyesore at least. And I don't want to get into a dump of money down a pit, but I brought that point up as well, Lloyd. It's something to consider.
Any motions out there?
I believe I made one of the,
Okay.
move forward on that 25 list of the most egregious 25
Do I have a second?
by sending the letters.
All in favor, but with usual sign. Motion carried.
I've got a question before you go.
Okay.
Harding's Landscape and Maintenance. That's me.
My name's on there and my payroll deduction to be paid.
And mine's paid.
Why is mine?
Well, that spreadsheet's from a while back.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna come up to foreclose on my property here.
I didn't think of that, Blair. I'm thinking,
Oh, no, they're paid.
I'll see you out.
Is yours on there? What the crap? I get paid off
Hey,
tax,
mine
paid
is 100% paid in full. So
Well, and what I'll do is I'll scan a copy of 25 that we're looking at. And that we're gonna send the letters to, so that you all are aware. And
Everybody check their names. We just voted to foreclose on our property.
it would, I think it would bring some understanding to the situation. If the collector could look at these properties and report what method she's tried to collect prior to us making this money.
Could she do that by the next meeting, or that would be some intense research? It would probably be the April.
I don't think it would be that hard. It's just 25 properties. And if they've had any kind of enforced remedy used against them, they're flagging the software. So she would know. And usually you can look at the payment history and see when state treasurer or the North Carolina Department of Revenue's last monies that we collect.
Larry, thank you for coming in tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I told you, I said, check out him fit.
We need that updated list.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda tonight is 11C, the application to the non-urbanized area formula program. Ms. Sheila Blaylock, I think this one, Mavis is going to help cover tonight.
Yeah, Sheila can't be here tonight, and all this is something that's usually on your consent agenda, usually earlier in the year. This is her 5311 money that comes from the federal government. And we all know we get federal government money, even though we've already started getting it, and she's gotten her grant already this year. They have a lot of assurances and a lot of legal documents that need to be signed, saying that we are following, she is following all of their guidelines and doing all the assurances to be sure that she's following all the rules in the money. So you guys just need to approve this, and Steve needs to sign it. And Taylor will get it back to her to send back in. But it's on the grant money that she's already getting this year. And normally this comes in about October of the year, but it's just late this year coming. So.
Do I have a motion, we approve this? Second. Yep. All in favor, vote the usual sign. Motion carries. You got what I need to sign, Mavis, or is Taylor got?
Taylor's got it.
Next one is the party grant.
I'll talk about that for just a minute, and then Brock's here too, but if y'all recall, I think probably about the time of the last meeting, nobody knew what had happened concerning our recreation program, whether or not we had applied for a party grant or whether we hadn't. And our EDC director was gone, and we couldn't ask him. So he told me to find out about it. Well, I called Phil True at High Country and talked with him, and he told me that he and Brock and some other interested parties were working with him on developing a county recreation plan. And that plan's supposed to be ready sometime in March. And he said that in his experience, if you didn't have that county recreation plan, there was no point in applying for a party grant. Because they want to know what your plan is, how this fits into your plan. He also told me that the time for filing a party grant was not imminent. May 2nd is the deadline. And what he proposes to do is continue with the county plan, and he and Brock and other interested parties are working on that. And when that plan is put together, it will be presented to you to approve the plan. That's not to appropriate any money or anything, just say, this is what long-term we would like to see. Then he will work on the party grant to get the application ready for us to file before the May 2nd deadline. This party grant is a matching grant, and it's dollar for dollar. The grant is up to $500,000, but it requires a local match of $500,000.
Is Lloyd, is Phil True is he gonna complete the grant for us? Is that who-
Yeah, he'll write the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, they will do the grant, but they will get input from this group that is working on county stuff.
He said the grant will be, it comes out of, half comes out of what the grant money they give you and half comes out of match.
Okay.
So he'll complete that. You done? You want me to
Yeah,
start?
I'm done.
He already said the maximum amount was 500,000. Applications are competitive and awarded on a point system. I got some bullet here on this. The Parks and Rec plan's essential component to earn the points application. He also said March 7th, I think, y'all's next meeting. Drew said he could come to that if y'all needed to speak to him. Based on the survey results, I don't know if y'all know we sent out surveys. Brandon's been a part of this because he's on my advisory board, and we've been meeting since for the first year, right?
Yeah,
after.
about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and we had 2 advisory board meetings, and we had a stakeholders meeting that he wasn't part of. And then me and Phil and Drew had a Zoom call last week. And the survey was overwhelmingly, Brandon knows the survey results of an indoor facility. That's, it was the highest recommendation. And it's the highest recommendation that they're gonna put forth on their plan when they have it done for us. So, do I know if we get 500,000? I don't know. I'd like to think we would. So when you guys decide to vote for, we're gonna match it, could be matching 500,000, you could not be matching 500,000. So, you know, he could be more clear on that, but, we're supposed to come back together in the first of March, probably with the advisory board. He'll present it to the advisory board, my Parks and Rec advisory board first, before the plan's completed. Drew has to know whether to proceed with the party grant, basically. Yes,
That's the key.
yes.
And
Now, the plan does not, he did assure me too, the plan does not have to be completed for y'all to say, okay, we will match it. It doesn't have to be completed. Like, you could vote tonight to match it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be.
so last night I attended the High Country Council of Government meeting up there. And I did speak to, I don't think I spoke to, is it Andrew Sutz?
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who I spoke to, but he was the part, I think he was the guy you've been dealing with, who he reports to.
Okay.
I can't remember his name.
Phil True. Phil's over him, and then
Yeah. So, and they seemed to me that they were very confident that we would get, if we go for the full match, that he seemed pretty confident that
He
they
felt
would support us. So,
and that's what Drew said. He felt good about it. Number one, it's been a long time, and number one, there's a huge need.
yeah, and they, we talked for a few minutes up there last night, and he, I told him that was something we had on the agenda for tonight. So,
I did this. I don't know if y'all remember this. It's not the scale. It's not, Jeff, that's been 2 years ago when you said, get me a drawing. We did
Sorry,
get
I
a new
got
drawing. Yep. And I went back and fixed it. You said you wanted some vendor area, blah, 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 blah. Won't hardly be able to do it that way if they put the road in. Now, the road's another story. I don't know how we would access it. Not a clue. You could access it. I don't know if you're talking about putting in the road that we walked. Did you walk that with us?
what did Mickey apply for back in?
They're not, the road, the state's not paying anything for the road.
We have to pay it and then they'll maintain it, is what I remember.
Gotcha.
There's your grant application. But
So,
But-
so
40
bro, this
pages.
area over here where it says Vendor's Lane.
Yep.
You say that may not.
it had to be
possible,
pushed this way a little bit.
But it's still
If they
in the-
put, yeah. If they put the road in the entire way.
The design for the location of the road, right along.
I meant to bring that other page that you gave me and I forgot it.
It's that building and everything's gonna have to be moved south end, probably 30 feet. So there's no conflict. But when they were designing that, nobody knew where the road was going. But the road runs right along the north boundary of that property and the school property.
Butt up against this property.
But
Yes.
it butts up against the
bank.
the northern boundary will be against that bank.
Could we proceed without the road that connects to Googe and
I
And
think.
You have to come in a different way.
There's the old road out there with some minor work would probably be good, would be suitable for what they would be going on the property.
for the time being.
Especially if the school is gonna put some billboard in.
You gotta figure on a day-to-day basis, and I've done
You're
all
not
kinds
gonna
of,
be able to use that road for school buses.
Right. But we could leave a road for the school in the
We,
future.
we just
Yes.
need to strip
and that's one
along
of
and
the
then get us an access that can get you in there. I don't. I was estimating, but I would think 25,000 to put in a road we could use for this recreation facility.
But that's not the, you're not talking about the school, right?
No.
Okay.
Just a road and then a facility is what you're at.
And you may know
Yes.
more
Come
about
around
this,
the old road there.
But we
but
can-
Chad,
we
you
can
know, they
vote on
really need
later
that
when we actually-
that
There
road.
is a
expensive.
road.
But we could leave the
that
space
comes
for the
off
road if
Hickinson,
that was ever
Absolutely,
possible.
Apparently. it
comes
was one
around and
back time
just a
over
little
there.
work in here
Pickups
and then
and
some widening.
drop-offs.
along
It's
there,
buses,
you
it's
can go
tough
right
it's
in.
tough to take those buses.
That's, and I think this will, all this kind of works in that same way to get us
Out of that.
out of that problem, yeah.
So Brock, can you talk to us about, Commissioner Harding and I were talking last night about the splash pad. And I guess you had spoke to him and there was some exact cost to that splash.
it's
pad.
not, it's not as much, it's more like, liability on top of it. So I don't know a whole lot about the splash pad. I'll be honest with you.
So,
One time the town was pretty.
We drew, you know, when Stan, yeah, when Stan did that, we did a wish list.
right,
And-
and that splash pad, to me personally, is a wish list for
Sure.
kids. I mean, you know,
Sure.
But can you tell me a little bit about, I know it's been so long since we started this. I
Yep.
forgot half
I
what we
got you.
talked about. So bring me up to speed on, did we not discuss, the possibility of connection to the creek walk in some way
Yeah.
to all this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And where are we at with talk with the town of Bakersfield?
Not at all. Once you say you're gonna go for it on that 500 grand,
Then you're
I'll talk
willing
to
to hit the
everybody,
road?
man.
Well, I was telling Commissioner Hardin last night, if the splash pad is not feasible because of freezing temperatures
Right.
or because of cost or whatever.
It is a little more difficult. I did talk about that when I was down at the directors conference. And that was one of the things actually that they did talk about is, you know, if you've got a swimming pool here, you've got it for 2 months.
Right.
So that is a little bit of a deterrent, but
So if the splash pad is not feasible, is there room here for us to incorporate pickleball courts?
pickleball courts would be, you could do outdoor pickleball courts, you could do indoor pickleball courts in the
Would-
rec
would
center.
you-
Huh?
would you-
Well, we can't do nothing right now unless we go inside. You know what I mean?
It's cold.
That's my
Because of
thing.
the weather.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my thing. Now, and that's what I was gonna tell you, even with the road, okay? At Bowman Saturday, I had 500 people probably in and out all day, would you say, or less, something like that. Okay, so you're gonna be really, really, really populated for games and tournaments. I've done my research with Robbie in Avery County with the Rock Gym. They do pickleball 3 days a week in the middle of the day. Inside their gym, they've got a couple of ellipticals, a couple of treadmills, and he does probably, not having practice during basketball season, he probably does 150 people, 150 citizens a day from 3 years old to
For pickleball?
90 years old for anything. To walk, to get on the treadmill, to ride the elliptical. Pickleball set up like 3 times a week. So, yeah, it's a huge draw. It is. Outdoors, I say the same thing on outdoors with, you know, especially if they're elderly. It's not warm, but, you know, we've got winter in July. It's what we've got, really. I mean, it's not real warm, but I mean, to me, the more the merrier. I'd take everything. I would take every bit of
Well, I
that.
started to say, so if we approve the match for this grant, then we can sit back down. None of this is concrete. It's
No,
just-
no. He drew that and he said, you know, nothing to scale, nothing to whatever. He put a wish list out for me.
And while, you know, I think it's, you know, it's kind of intimidating to talk about spending money when we're in such a crunch, but at the same time, I kind of think about what I would do personally. And anytime I can put my money up and have somebody match it 100%, I'm always gonna contribute the maximum. It's a no-brainer.
I think too, I really, really, really believe this. I think I can get a whole lot more.
And I believe you can-
I think I can
believe
bum
in
a
you.
whole lot more.
Well, I'm 100% on board with it, so unless somebody wants to table it, then I make a motion to move on with it.
I will
I'm
not, I will not table
That's
it.
not a jab at
Please
you,
don't table
Brandon.
this. Let's not-
I'll second it. Vote, everybody, before we place a vote, one comment.
since I'm the elder statesman here. I've been chasing this dog for 30 years. My kids were involved in sports. Other kids were involved in sports. I've done everything from rec, travel ball to high school ball. And we've always had to beg for a gym or facility when we could use it. Steve, you're in it now, you know. For the aging population, we've got some nice places to walk outside in Bakersville and Spruce. But they're very unlevel. So we don't have a level surface for any of our, and I'm getting close to the elderly, okay? And I'd love a flat place to walk after I have knee surgery, but I probably won't have one. But we've been dealing with this 30 years. The generation before me dealt with this same thing. I love that we are a proactive board and we're willing to take the risk. And, you know, we're gonna get some kickback for throwing money at a facility or ball. But you're gonna get a whole lot more pats on the back. People are not gonna mind spending their tax dollars if they can see something positive. And that's just my soapbox. I should have done it before a motion in a second, but I totally support this. I want to go for the $500,000, match the $500,000. I agree with Brock. I think there are a couple of other avenues that money can be donated from, because comments been paid or made, you know, we'd like to help. County's not putting any skin in the game. So I think it's time we step up, put some skin in the game, and I think other people or other companies will seed into this process.
And I want to be clear with everything, and you talk about Mitchell County Schools, and I think, you know, when Kim was sitting here, they've been absolutely wonderful to us.
Mhm.
And I've talked to Jeff about this, and maybe Steve, but the way that sports are now and the way things are going, and Brandon, you live it. They're wonderful to us, but we're always second. And that's what you have to be when it's not yours. You know, I told my wife this is my goal coming on. Somehow, if we can start it, I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna try to get it without getting a lot of taxpayer dollars for myself. I'm gonna try to get it. Like, I'm gonna try to raise it. So.
Now, that doesn't mean you're gonna retire as soon as you get it, right?
I
Okay,
can't retire.
just
I'm
checking.
about 62.
So
Getting closer though.
I do have a question. Right now, out at the senior center, are you guys doing exercises?
Yes, ma'am. Twice a
How
week.
many people are you able to?
When
to
we
work
were
with?
when we were rolling, and do anybody know Maria Seward? You know Maria? Broke my heart. Now a lot of them have died since I've been there. That bothered me. Yep. Yesterday, had a heart attack. That's the only one that's ever bothered me. Yep. But anyway, we were rolling before COVID and all that. We'd have 55. Like they couldn't fit them. They had to move the tables to where they eat. So now you have to schedule. So, you know, 14, 15 now, and not the same 14 or 15 get to come both times because they had to put their name in. And
But you can do all of them at one time.
yeah, and the way he's drawing it is he's drawing it like a drop off, kind of like that. And I mean, you know, if the senior center brought them or the transportation brought them there, yes. I mean, my vision is to open it at 9 and close it at 9 every day.
We would have set hours in the vision that the general public would come in and use.
The only time I'm going to be booked up is right now. I go from November to March, and like I've got 18 basketball teams right now, and
But even in that busy season, you would still have hours.
it's
the general
all day
public
long.
can
We don't start till after 5, right? Yeah. So and this year is a lot harder. 18 basketball teams, middle school changed their schedule. They go to February. So we've done every bit of it in Googe and Greenwood. And that's after Brandon rolls up his mats. And we're trying to bounce a basketball while he's rolling up his mats. So-
I have worked with directly coaches. I've
Yep.
rolled them up early.
Yep,
Well, I'll
yep.
tell you what, you know, this is, the school thing is a big deal. Huge.
Yeah.
The free money to build school, this may be one of the most exciting things I've been able to work on in my 2 terms. Because this truly gives back to the county something we needed so bad. for so
Everybody.
long. Everybody.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's really exciting. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, guys. And I appreciate everything. I say this every time I talk to you, and I always say it. I love my job. I've got the best job in Mitchell County. And I know that.
Well, and before you leave, Chad, hinted to the fact that we need more families in this community. And families that move here want something for their small children to do. So, I don't know if we'll ever get this finished before my kids are grown and out of rec, but I hope we will. But it will benefit all of us in that we'll continue to grow our tax base, continue to replenish those folks that want to live here.
Well, Brandon, in going to that, I was involved in a community survey years ago. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy. He came in from Appalachian and, had community meeting after community meeting after community meeting. Number 3 on the list. Number 3, get people to move and recruit industry. Quality recreation for the whole thing.
And
That's
I
been
think,
years ago.
I think it's very important. I think it's very, very important for the community. And for you guys, if anybody asks you any questions, we're not building stuff for ball. We're building it for everything. I mean, and that's, I think it gets misconstrued sometimes that, oh, he loves ball and that's it. Well, there's a lot more interest other than bouncing a basketball. And I think that's important for everybody to know. So.
And I would just like to looking at the room, we just got this project for new school with the help from Ralph and so forth. Our sheriff's sitting back there that we've got money to build in the law enforcement center.
Mhm.
You're here with Rick and we're just about to vote on doing this. And this is a lot of positive things for Mitchell County
I agree.
that has been so long coming that it blows my mind that we're able to even discuss these things.
I think we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you, Brock.
Thank you, guys. Try to save a little money, get you some more candy. Be candy the whole time.
And now go out there and
I
tell
can't
these
help it,
people,
son.
I got a commitment from the county to go after 500,000, give me some money.
Oh, can I tell y'all one more thing right quick?
Your
Just
time's
give you
up,
an
son.
update.
You cut down here.
My time up? We just now got, Mavis will be getting a check in probably a week where the Cane Creek Field, Sabelco wrote us a check for $7,100 for a new scoreboard.
Boys, a lot of people will be happy about that.
At the end, that's a fact.
Rob knows what I mean by that.
Towards the end of March, Torch Corp is going to re-roof our press box, both of our dugouts, paint the press box and fix our net. So, and those 2 things I told you cost nothing but them. So they're awesome.
That's great.
Now I'm gonna ask them for some more. So, thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brock.
it. Next on the agenda tonight, item number E, the CDRC Neighborhood Revitalization Grant.
Okay, we're gonna do these quickly because these are good news too. We talked about that we had a committee, we applied again for the CDBG Neighborhood Revitalization Grant a few months ago. Then I came back and told you that we got the grant. So what you have before you that you need to approve and sign is the contract with North Carolina Department of Commerce saying that we are accepting the $750,000 and we'll be ready to begin this grant project. And we plan to replace 4 or possibly 5 homes with this money. Definitely 4, and depending on how funding and costs hold out, we may do 5. I have to have a vote on that you're approving to accept this 750 and
So moved.
Second. All in favor, vote by the usual sign. All right, we're knocking them out tonight. Next on the items for tonight, we've got the CDBG grant agreement.
this is the agreement, now that we've got got the grant, we've accepted the grant, and we've got the money, we will work with Country Council on Government for the administration of this grant. And how this works is, this grant has a mandatory administration because it is a lot of work and a lot of time that goes into this. And we work with High Country Council on Government, and we co-do the administration. The Mitchell County will get some for the work that our staff does on the ground to make sure this grant works day to day. We have inspections involved, my office is involved, DSS is involved. We've got a lot of people involved in this grant, but we also need the expertise of the grant writers to get this grant, and High Country helps us with the reporting and all the, keeps us out of trouble to make sure that we dot all the i's, cross all the t's, conforms with all the federal regulations, and helps us at the end when we have to do, when the Department of Commerce comes in and does an audit after we're finished, to make sure we get everything in the proper order. So we do this with them, and their part is about $27,000, and then the rest of the administration money comes to us. And I am sorry, but I don't remember exactly how much that is. It's around 47,000. So anyway, I need us to approve to work with High Country again on this grant.
Do I have a motion? Second. All in favor, vote will use your sign.
And they are
Motion carried.
wonderful. Okay.
Thank
I'm next with the finance report.
We got one
Oh,
agenda item
shoot.
into.
You can stay up here.
The next one on the agenda, we got 11G, the Toe River Health District pay study.
You guys will allow me, I'll speak to that as far as representing. You heard from one of the members, Joe Miller. No employees, no board members had any part of this study. This study was done by an independent agent, looking at the numbers, pay scales, the salary ranges of what people's job descriptions were. They came back, and these are their numbers, and Lloyd was gracious enough to provide us a breakdown on an easier sheet of paper to read.
So you did this sheet, Lloyd?
Under the manager's report.
Under the manager's report.
No, Diane,
was stuff
I summarized
this other
it.
one, Brandon's a little bit complicated to
I
read, but
summarized
you
it
can't
in a
figure
very
it out.
brief form, but it's got the same final figure.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Got some questions about that one today.
yeah, there's, you gotta look at it real close.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lloyd's numbers have come up with the information he got to do a pay scale, and this is for Mitchell County employees. The first 12 are strictly Mitchell County Health Department employees that work only in Mitchell County. The bottom part of that is for employees, and there are about 5 of them that work through the district. With fringes and benefits, the total cost to bring the people up to proper pay, which they've not had this done in 10 to 15 years, maybe 20, was $122,940. What I'm going to recommend to this board, and Yancey County has passed this salary survey for their employees. Avery County has passed this survey, and thank you, Mr. Pittman, for wanting more information on this. I think that was very, you want to see the numbers. I think it helped all of us see the numbers, but as your representative on this board, I'll make a recommendation that we pass this pay increase that's recommended on this pay scale, that money be taken out of the Pruitt Home Health money. This amount will be divided in half for this year, and this pay increase be retroactive back to January 1. And our fiscal year will end June 30. And then the full amount will come in starting new fiscal year, July 1 to the fall. So I would like to recommend to this board that we accept this.
Do I have a second?
Yes. I make a motion.
Got a second?
Second.
Just for clarification, so you're wanting to split that $120,000, and you're saying we should split that $120,000 in half and pay this fiscal year?
What it'll end up being, Brandon, this is not brought in till half of the year's done and gone.
Right.
So recommend starting the employees' pay increase
January.
back in January, which will mean we're only paying for 6 months in this fiscal year, which you can divide this amount of money by two.
Gotcha.
And that's what it'll cost us for the remainder of this year. It'll come out of the Pruitt savings account money that we have. It'll be no local money used. There won't be a budget amendment that will be.
And that's what I really wanted to point out. So would you highlight that again? This comes out of the Pruitt savings account for Toe River Health District, Mitchell County's portion of Pruitt money from the sale of home health.
Is Yancey doing that as well? They even.
Everybody, yes.
Everybody is, okay.
How much do we have of that Pruitt money left? Do you have-
I think it's about
$700,000.
$750,000.
Because they took COVID money and deposited in on our behalf.
Our balance had got fairly low, Brett. So I think we put 150,000 back into that from COVID money, which raised our balance back up.
So I guess barring a large increase to their operational expenses, that should sustain us for 5 years. With what we have now.
Probably not 5 years. I'd estimate 3, probably max 4 would
Are
be
they
my
already-
guesstimate.
Are they already using some of that Pruitt money
Yes,
to balance their budget?
we do. We as Mitchell County have used Pruitt money.
Last year,
The whole thing, I think the whole budget came out of Pruitt money last
We
year, didn't it?
amended that.
That was
No,
year
what- that
before,
was year
Harvey.
before last.
That was year before.
Yeah.
And then y'all went back, it wasn't us then, but y'all went back and amended that previous board.
But we just changed it when we did the budget.
Okay.
Is all we
So-
did, Brandon.
So you didn't, you only took a small amount outright.
Well, we took a certain amount out
I think
of local money for the budget and then the
Right.
remainder came
it's
out
about
of Pruitt.
300 and some thousand
350,
that
I
we
think,
paid,
Steve.
and then we took the rest out of
So
that.
we paid $350 and the rest.
It
Are
seems
we
like-
still, are we still pretty much doing that? That, I thought it was,
We might have.
We
maybe.
funded them what we asked
We
for
did.
though, right? But
Yeah.
it was,
Brandon, that'll be our decision as a board when budget time comes.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question. Out of these current, this, I'm assuming, that nurse that we approved several, I don't know, it's been since I've been on the board, I think. during
back in the
COVID.
fall of last year, wasn't it?
Which one of those positions was that?
Probably your nursing supervisor that would be almost at the bottom. That would have been the one when Christy Duncan left. And Dr. Smuckers.
I think we had a motion and a second, I believe. Any other questions or discussion on anything? Everybody vote by the usual sign. The motion carries. Finance officer. One more time. Get your exercise tonight.
Well, I had a lot last time and I didn't give my report, so some of these things I'm gonna scratch off and just kind of briefly go through a couple things. I know, back in December, there was some talk about, we had a, no heat in the annex. I will let you know that we finally have heat again in the annex. So that's good. I have another problem up there now. We have no hot water, and I'm trying to track that one down. Okay, so I'll be back with another report. In fact, we'll probably talk about that some at the capital budget workshop we're gonna do next week. Because I think she's working on a list of stuff up there, but I just found out today that I didn't know. Okay, the sheriff's here. I will let you know that he does have his body cams, the grant that bought the body cams, those are installed and they are using them. Okay, so that's going on. That did get implemented and did get finished. Last week, Steve did sign the $5 million grant funding from the state for the new law enforcement center. So that has been signed, and we will watch, hopefully in about 10 days, we'll get that funded. And remember, we've already set up the bank account and everything for that. Sheriff also got a grant that came down through the budget that was just passed from the state. It actually came down as a direct payment or a direct funding. I'm not sure how the payment's gonna come, but for every county, I think, that had a population less than 210,000, got a certain amount of money. And our part of that money was $84,000. And I actually will discuss this at the capital improvement plan, because this is money that has to be spent on something that was not budgeted for the sheriff's department that they need to continue their day-to-day operations. So we have put together a package of how to spend that money. I'm waiting on one more price to come in, but I do have how I think we should spend that money, and we'll do that probably in this fiscal year, and we'll do a budget amendment for that $84,000, which is great because that can purchase some of the things that the county would probably have to do in next year's budget anyway. We go ahead and take care of some of those needs, and we'll talk about that also on Tuesday when we do the capital. So we have a lot of things going on right now. I will say that I did look at 6 months of sales tax now that we have sales tax through December. Right now, we are still tracking about 10% ahead of what I budgeted for this year for the first 6 months, which is awesome. However, we're getting to go into our slow months now, which is the revenues for January and February. So we'll see how those hold up. Across the state, everybody is amazed. I get stuff on the listserv all the time about, how long is this gonna last? And the bottom's gonna fall out at some point. But all across the state, sales tax is holding and doing very well. And it's been record-setting increases. So ours is still tracking really well, so I'm happy about that. We haven't found all we need to get this budget this year back on even, but we're doing good. Okay, I think that's all I have, unless anybody, of course, we're still listening to all of our ARPA calls every week. Lloyd really enjoys those. And,
Sarcasm in that, Lord?
they're not very
I like
entertaining.
them better than the COVID call.
Yeah.
Oh, we have another one of those, about the 28th, I think, Lloyd. So we'll, I think we have another one of those. And next month, we start doing calls on the $5 million sheriff grant. We will start doing, now that we're past getting all the contracts done, we start next month doing calls on how we report. There's always reports with all this money. So we'll get that education next month, Lloyd, on how we have to account and report all that expenditures we're going to get ready to do. And I think that's about it, unless somebody's got any questions. Don't forget, we're going to do Tuesday, March the 1st at 3 o'clock. And that will be very intense. I'm just going to warn you right now. Very intense. A lot of information.
Thank you, Ms. Mavis. Appreciate you, all you do.
I have a question, and it's not necessarily about finance, but do we rent out the building to MOC? Is that a county-owned building? Mountain Opportunity Center.
That is a county.
Who is responsible for fixing if something's broke on the outside?
They have normally fixed that building. I think some might have done some work.
Yeah, we did something for them.
We did
It's been,
something for you, huh?
it's been 4 years plus.
Yeah, it was back, I think it was something, but, I'm not sure.
It's just kind of been a gentleman's agreement of whatever.
Yeah, and I think it also falls, I don't.
Well, the
We don't
reason.
pay any utilities, we don't do anything.
The reason that I asked is I noticed this week, when I come out of the cafe, that the chimney is not straight anymore, it's leaning like. So I just, before it falls in on somebody, I just didn't know. Cause that needs, I don't know if it's a,
Maintenance up there, see what.
it's just not straight no more.
No, most of the things that I haven't talked about, y'all have already acted on. The preliminaries before you voted. A little bit more on sheriffs. I met with two representatives from Mosley Architects last Thursday. And we reviewed, went over some of the drawings. They saw yours and liked it. And
That was Dawn's request, so.
and talked about staffing and needs, that sort of thing. And site. Looked at the drawings that we have and the maps on that side. Sheriff's Department. And they seem to think that would work real well. But we haven't got the test board back yet. But they seem to think that it would be very similar to what's on the communication site. So they told me they were definitely going to send you. They will be doing the Yancey County project. They've got the same. And they sort of love to go maybe talk them into some
I
discount.
started to say we want a discount, a twofer, because you're 25 miles closer.
I mean, they can do their inspections on both sides at the same time.
Yeah.
So that looked promising. The note on Soil Conservation Service, they made an amendment to their budget and they wanted y'all to know about it. And what they did, they had a lady staffer that insisted that she was either going to go to a part-time or she was going to go home.
Where's this at?
Soil Conservation Service. So Mark Bird. So she took a cut in pay and went to 3 days a week. And the board then voted to give the money they had saved there, add it on Mark's side. And did that. Told me about it. As a result, his went up to about mid-range on the salary range for that. But it put him up almost even with either Avery or Yancey or Madison or Powell, that position. He's still a little bit behind, but that's $10,000. Well, and they did that. It will cost us nothing this year unless we agree to make that administrative assistant permanent at some point. It won't cost us anything. It's simply an inner item transfer in their budget. There is two budgets. There's a budget that is all hours, which includes the administrative assistant, and then there's a budget that's straight. That shouldn't affect this budget at all. Certainly remember that when we budget like that, for the system or part-time positions. They are participating in a stream flow restoration program. That doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to do anything about it. But so far, they have identified 10 stream segments for brush and debris cleanup out of the streams and are working on the project. Mark's got pretty impressive documentation on all these things, and they will bid those streams for the cleanup will be bid in the contract. And they get some stream cleanup. Help a lot of people in rural areas. They just wanted you to know about it. $6,049.
Yeah, it'll shoot up about 4 ends.
The bids on, we've not got the titles yet on mobile modular building. They've been applied for 3 weeks or so now. They haven't come yet. When they do, that'll go on.
How was that process? Was it once you?
I talked to Christie.
contacted her because I wanted her to have the login and everything, so. Thinking about the future, we don't want to have it on. Yeah, so Chrissy did it, and in fact, I think on March the first on that.
At 4:08 p.m.
That's the triple wide, right?
No, we haven't listed it yet.
What's up to 6,000?
The transit van.
That transit van.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's all for sale, without any clearance. And the guy called her and sent me an email at 1:00. So to try to help her, make sure we know what we're supposed to do once the auction ends and have the process from that end, but we didn't have any trouble on the front end getting it set up or getting it. I think we get the pictures up like the first, then we got that figured out, so we, it went well so far, we'll see how we end up closing it out, and hopefully by the time we actually got the modular, we are still in the process, Danny's working a couple of days, we're still trying to clean that modular up before we take the pictures or do anything out there. I'd like for it to, a lot of wires, and we're trying to do it a little bit better in the picture, but might not be as easy as that.
I'm not sure how well that.
And I'm not sure, I'm still not sure what kind of value, I think probably me and Blair do that, talk about the reserve and the minimum bid on that, and I think it's a little, yeah, we're all over the place with that one, so I don't know.
I guess the last time the county sold one of these transit vans, what did it sell for? Do you remember?
They don't sell for very much, but most of the time they're running,
We've not really sold a transit van before. It's been the box van.
the box man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So we can just work normally from 5,000 to 6,000. The fact that it didn't happen. Look, gas, what is that called?
Head gaskets.
And I've talked to so many people, when we get that thing fixed, but it's not hard. And we've had a lot of people, and we just have to bunch, that they want back then.
Somebody asked about it being rolled up on a rollback.
Yeah, so we've had to, we're not, too bad, but there is time consuming. Process. I mean, we had a lot of questions. And a lot of time. I'm really concerned about that. I'm not exactly sure, because we're not exactly equipped to answer questions because it's out of our realm of expertise. So we may have to ask for some guidance to get the questions.
I would say a good default answer would be the medical inspection.
Yeah.
And that's my report, but I want to let you know that I. Stork flew over, and got all the little chips out of the sky. You're working your behind off to get them done. That's the biggest reason I agreed to come back, because I want to do stuff.
Yes, we do. And you have you've been phenomenal at giving us reports and keeping us informed. I could not ask for better.
Well, I want the boss to know what I'm doing. Afraid you find me.
And you would be
But
so
I'll
disappointed.
tell you one thing, I want to thank Diane Creed. She still answers the phone when I call her. If she don't, she calls me right back. I'm sure she's tired of listening to me and asking questions about everything. Chad Calhoun, he's been the same way. Just as cooperative with everything we've asked him about. And he gave you a grant agreement that made sense. Certainly, I want to thank Mavis and Christie, because I asked them more questions than anybody. They always have an answer. But we work together well. We enjoy working together.
We agree.
I mean, the ball is rolling. It's
Yeah.
not stopped.
We're not wasting time.
No,
Yeah.
that's,
Lord will tell you how hard.
I mean,
It's evident.
that's awesome.
They spend going. I didn't go, they know.
That means you're gonna stay long.
I started to say, sit still, you ain't going nowhere. Sit still.
Well, this wasn't my farewell address, it's sort of my address before.
Is that what it
Anything from the attorneys? Don't think we have any need for a closed session this evening. Board comment, Commissioner Pitt. Commissioner Matt?
Not even a.
If you have too many comments, I'll have to throw my rock about the gavel at you. We're on pace to get out by 8 o'clock tonight. It's a record. Commissioner Hardy.
I'm very nervous about saying anything now.
I
want to say thank you, Lloyd. I want to say thank you to this board. I think it's a great board, progressive. I think we all realize that. I want the citizens of Mitchell County to know that we're working very hard as a board.
Mr. Counselor.
I appreciate administration and my colleagues on this board. And most of all, I appreciate the citizens of Mitchell County and love where we live. And I am thankful for where we live.
Amen. I have motion to adjourn. Let the record
Look at
note
that.
7:55. That's pretty good for
Let
that.
the record reflect.
7:56 now, 7:56. It's not strolled all the way around. Thank you. Right. I'll give you this.
I hope you feel